Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with my client Max, and I'm really excited for this interview and for Max to share a bit of his story. He basically went from a very normal university student to a very successful digital middleman. So, Max, how's life? How's everything?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. I'm also very excited for the call and the interview here, actually.
So, one thing that I just like to start with directly, because at the end of the day, people get into this to make money, and I'm sure they're curious, like, how's the money? How much are you making currently in what you're doing as a digital middleman?
It's good so far, right? I mean, it's not always the same income, but in average, I would say make between 20 and 30,000 euros a month, right? This month is also pretty good. I think I will end around 25 to 27K, but let's see, we have like 4 more days left, right? So let's see how it's going.
Yeah, I know your approach. You're like not the guy who wants to make 2, 3K and just chill on the beach. Like going all out, how much can you achieve? And that's one of the reasons why you've already reached some of the goals that you laid out, looking to achieve many more. Just out of curiosity, when you say it's sometimes more, sometimes less, but almost always on the 20K, what's been like the worst month that you've had in recent memory?
I mean, the worst month probably was when I started out, right? I was like when I started out, the first month I made like 2K or something, right? But I remember after 3 months I made the first time the over 10K a month, right? So it was pretty fast to hit the 10K actually. But and since then never less than 5 figures basically, right?
Yeah. And when it comes to your journey, when we met, you were doing basically a 9 to 5 and at the same time studying at university. And what kind of were you studying at uni?
Just normal stuff, right? Business and economics, just those things that you do when you don't know what to study basically, right?
How did you end up thinking, hey, maybe instead of just studying and getting a job, I might want to do something online? Where did that come from?
I mean, I always had big dreams, right? And I still have big dreams. And I mean, I saw you guys, friends of mine online doing things, crushing it. And I was like in a 9 to 5 at university, having a pretty boring life back then. And I always knew that these people are not basically smarter than me. They just do another business than myself, right? Or another job or another opportunity. And I knew I need to change what I do. And yeah, so here I am now.
Here you are, and it's been quite a journey. But let's just rewind the clock and go back to essentially when we met and just started getting into it. You mentioned your first month was 2K. That was the worst month ever. I mean, that already is great. Starting out first month, that's someone's salary, right?
Yeah.
Now, what was the second month like?
Second month, what I was, I think like 5 or 6K, something like that. And yeah, then the third month was the first time. It was May last year, first time where I hit 10K in a month. Yeah.
And now that you say that, for many people, like 10K is the magic number. That's like the goal they lay out for themselves when they get started, right? How has it been for you to hit that 10K, not just at some point, but like 3 months into it?
Yeah, I remember exactly, right? And it's super interesting because like 10K for me was always like crazy, right? Like when I always thought like when you make 10K a month, it's like you are done, right? You can afford everything, right? And I remember I made that, and it was pretty interesting. Also, I cried when I made that. It was like the last day of the month. It was like 2:30 in the morning. I closed the last deal because back then I was working for a company and closing for US times, right? So it was like pretty late in the evening or pretty early in the morning for European people. And it was like 2:30 when I closed the last deal, and I made like 10K in a month. And I actually have pictures on my phone. Tears started to fall down here. Because it was like for many years I was dreaming about 10K. It was so crazy, right? But then I remember exactly once I make this first 10K, of course it felt good, but at the same time I saw that you actually can do a lot, right? Because I mean, automatically your standards increase, right? Your lifestyle increases. And yeah, but 10K was pretty interesting back then, right?
So when you say that it's been last year, how old are you now, by the way?
27.
27. So you're 26 when you hit 10K a month?
Yes.
Something that I know from having watched your journey kind of continue from there is that you didn't stop at 10K. So tell me, how did things continue from there?
That's true, yes. And basically, I was just hungry, right? I mean, I saw that there's a huge potential, but I was making like, I took for 10K, I took maybe like 2 calls a day, right? Maybe 3 calls a day. So it was not that much work, right? So I knew if I just work more, I can make much more money, right? And it was May last year in 2023, I made the first time 10K. And then in August 2023, I made the first time over 30,000 euros in 1 month, right? But yeah, I was working like crazy, right? But that felt really good, right? I remember exactly. I mean, with 10K, you can do a few things, but with 30K, you can do much more.
Definitely. I mean, that's a testament to you just wanting to achieve more, setting high standards, setting high goals for yourself. I've seen so many sales reps, right? And digital middlemen just get comfortable at 10K, especially with the way that you make that money. I mean, you mentioned you've been working like 2 hours a day, making 10K.
Yeah.
By the way, in the business model that we're running here, 10K straight profit into your pocket, right?
Yes.
Zero costs. But again, you
Yes.
didn't stop. So you said you cried when you hit 10K. How was hitting 30K?
It's pretty interesting. I was not like kind of like intrigued at all. I was pretty cold about it, right? It was like nice, but I don't know, like 10K was just like crazy back then, but then you kind of get used to it, right? And it gets normal. And also, especially you see other people in the industry doing crazy numbers, right? And so you also want to level up basically, right? So you see after a certain time, even 30K is not something special, right? And I think it's all about the attitude, because there are people, you know, who would get in a comfort zone, right? Who say, yeah, 10K is nice. But it's always how you see things, right? For some people, if they make 10K a month, it's crazy money. But for other people, you know, if I know people, if they make 100K a month, they have a problem because it's too less, right? So it's always how you see things, and then also at the end of the day, how much are you willing to put into it, right?
Yeah, that's very true, and I couldn't agree more. It's the environment that you put yourself in. Because if you're in an environment where, let's say, you hit 10K and everybody you know and that you're around is praising you, like, wow, that's so amazing, you're the best and whatnot, right? You're gonna start to believe that. You're gonna say, oh, I'm the best.
100%,
No, there's no room to improve. But again,
100%.
that's the beautiful thing where so many people say it's not about the money. It's about the person that you become on your journey of making that money and being able of doing these things. And for both you and me, I know we were able to meet very, very high level, high net worth people that we're able to learn from. And for me, that situation was flying out to Dubai for the first time, meeting one of my mentors
Yeah,
who around my age, and me just asking him, so when was the last time you made less than $100,000 in profit in a month?
yeah.
I was like, no idea. That got me. I was like, whoa, there's levels to this, right? And continuing the journey from there, we've both been in and have got the access to those rooms again and again, and we will be there in very short time. People who make 7 figures a month, multiple 7 figures a month, right? And when you set these standards and you can talk to these people, you're very aware how real they are and what's possible, right? That just pushes you so much further.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds so basic, but it's just about the mindset, right? Like how you think about those things. And yeah, you automatically attract certain things that you want in your life, right?
It's always just pushing yourself a step further, and you're never going to stop having limiting beliefs in certain directions, right? For example, some people, right? Some clients I speak to, they hit 8K a month, for example. They're like, wow, I don't know if that's my ceiling, I can't go further. There's limiting beliefs we have to break, we have to discuss that will take you way further. Hit 10K the first time, hit 20K the first time, right? All these things.
Yeah,
But it all sounds like so amazing now. But
yeah.
were you like skeptical when you got started into this, or were you like, I know 1,000% it's gonna work? What was like your approach?
Um, I was not really skeptical. I mean, of course, you're always a bit skeptical, right? And asking like, is this really working, right? I remember like the first few calls I had, I was so nervous because for me, it like the two services I sold back then was the beginner program was $3,000 and 5.8K, right? And for me, it was impossible that talking to someone for half an hour or an hour, that someone directly in the call will transfer you 3K, 5.8K, 10K or whatsoever, right? So so for me, it was just like, is this really working, right? I was not doubting basically the industry in general, but I was doubting myself, right? I just didn't know if this is really legit and working for me, basically. But yeah, then I mean, I failed the first, I think it took me over 10 calls to make the first deals, right? But then, yeah, I think I became pretty good in it.
Absolutely. And that's just resilience, right? If you don't stop, nothing's going to stop you. Just keep improving and you will end up good enough. If the goal is worth it, who cares how long you take to achieve it, right? Said this many, many
That's
times. But you said you cried for 10K a month. What was like just the first sale when you said that you had that realization of somebody essentially, right?
Yeah.
Spending that money and you're like, wow, I just talked and
Yeah.
now my money. How was that?
Actually, it was crazy because I remember exactly I was in Spain, in Mallorca at that time, and I had friends at my home there, and they knew that I'm going to start something, and they were there just to, hang out, to party, to do this and that. And I remember exactly with one friend, my best friend, actually, I was fighting with him a lot because he wanted that I come to the restaurants to do parties and stuff, but I was in the onboarding process with this guy back then when I started to work with him. And it was just more important to me, right? And when I started with the one guy back then, I was basically closing for US times, right? So it was like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, right? And I closed the first deal, right? And all the other people in my apartment, they were sleeping basically. And I was making like $300 out of like 1 hour work, right? And then they woke up, right? And I showed them as basically my phone, right, of the transaction. Look, I made now $300, right? And then they started to accept it a bit more, I would say. Yeah, it was pretty interesting experience.
Step by step. I think it's the same for anybody who becomes
Yeah.
successful, right? You got to go against the stream of the normal. You're gonna have a lot of people tell you not gonna work, what are you doing and whatever. And that's just their own limitations in their head. They can't possibly imagine doing something that isn't the safe, the normal path and whatever, right? And the only thing you can do is outwork that self-doubt. And it tends to be always the same thing. First, they doubt you, right? Then they're like wondering, how are you making this happen? And then they start asking how you did it. And this is something that happened to you exactly the way we just discussed. I mean, you had somebody very close to you who was very skeptical and who overcame that skepticism. Do you want to tell us a bit more about what that story actually means?
I mean, overall, it's pretty interesting to see that in people, right? Because I mean, now I do this like since 1.5 years, right? And make pretty good money, I would say. And like also nowadays, right? Like when I look at my pretty close friends, right? I have like one, two very good friends of mine, love them, right? But it just they understand that I or that my brother and we make good money, right? But they don't really understand like what this is about and what I'm actually doing, right? And for example, my father, it was like a month ago, he celebrated his 70th birthday, right? And it was super interesting because I grew up in a very small village in Austria. And like there were like almost like 60, 70, or maybe even 80 people in our home in Austria, right? And I bought like 2 months ago, I picked up my first Porsche, right? And I was driving to my parents' home with the Porsche, right? So it was parking in front of the house basically. And it was so interesting, like no one um like asked me what I do and how can I afford this, right? They all went to my parents, friends, and then family. They all went to my parents to ask, what is Max doing, right? What is Felix, my brother, doing, right? So I just saw basically success is so far away for some people, right? They are even skeptical about asking what they do, right? Because they maybe think I do something illegal or something bad or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
it was super interesting to see that. Yeah.
It's funny to say that other students have told me the exact same thing where their friends are like, yeah, no, I don't believe this. It's like too good to be true. Mention your brother. Where did
Yeah.
he get into all of this, right? I mean, I'm looking to share Felix's story in more detail in the near future,
Yeah.
but he was very skeptical in the beginning. How did
Yes.
it go from there?
Yes. I think it's a super interesting story, right? So, I mean, first of all, we are twins, right? I'm just 2 minutes older than him. We like almost all our life we have been together, right? In everything we did. And my brother was studying in the university in Austria, was doing his bachelor there, and then also master in Switzerland with me. My brother is very kind of a very conservative mindset, I would say, right? He was selling like boats in Mallorca, and then he was also as a student in Austria selling like real estate here and there, right? So just traditional stuff, right? And he was super like skeptical. And I remember exactly when I started this year, he said, I will never do this. It's not working. I want to do something real. I want to do something legit, right? Um, but I remember exactly exactly in August 2023, so exactly 1 year ago, I made the first time 30,000 euros in 1 month in profit, right? And my brother was at university. He was selling real estate here and there and renting apartments out, making like 1 to 2K on the side to his university, right?
Well, just one
And
more.
yeah,
Bachelor, he did a master's,
yeah,
ended up making 1 to 2K a month.
yeah, during university, but basically it was like a part-time job more or less, right? Um, but then yeah, he saw me in August last month making good money, and then I mean, he couldn't look away, right? And I remember exactly, like you are actually the reason why my brother is also doing the same thing, right? Because I remember I was driving with my brother in the car, and then you called me for a client of yours. You wanted me to make sales calls for him, but then I told you I have my brother. You know, he also has sales experience. He also wants to start this closing journey, and yeah, this is how he came into it because of you, actually, right?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to be a part of Felix's journey from there.
Yeah.
And long story short, he started out being extremely skeptical, saying, I will never do this. Guess what?
Yeah.
Doing it full time. And 1 or 2 months ago, what was the number he hit? I think 1 or 2 months ago,
I
that was.
mean, he's making constantly now like 10 to 20K a month. I think he even make also one time more than 20K a month. I don't know exactly. I don't want to give wrong numbers here,
I'll
but
ask.
like 50K a month is normal now, right? For him.
Yeah,
It's pretty nice. Yeah.
crazy how like that's 10x of what he used to make, and now
Yeah.
that's normal, right?
Yeah.
So when saying these things, you said you bought a Porsche. I know you've treated yourself and your brother with a lot of other amazing things, right? Cars, multiple, watches, multiple, and all that good stuff. But let's forget the materialistic stuff for just a second. What are like the things that you're most grateful for on a daily basis, just reflecting on the life that you get to live now?
Yeah. Um, you know what? I think, and it sounds so basic, but it's the freedom, right? I was just like around like 4 or 5 days ago, I was coming back from Mallorca to Vienna here, right? And I was meeting Amelie. And we were talking about it, right? It was like a random Tuesday afternoon, right? And we were sitting at this harbor in Mallorca, you know, like walking around and drinking some water, right? And then she said to me, like, Max, do you actually know that it's not normal to sit here now at this time on a Tuesday? And for me, because the thing is, for me, it became normal meanwhile, right? For example, I just flew to Mallorca to see a football game, Real Madrid against Mallorca, right? I decided one day before to do that, right? If you work a 9 to 5, if you are employed at a company, it's impossible to do that, right? You need to go to an office or to a certain workplace, and it's just freedom, right? Of course, you need to work. It's not money on autopilot, right? But it became normal, and it's so um it's just so good, right? Also, we had we do, my family, all of us, we do a health check each 2 years, right? In a clinic in a hotel in Austria. And it was super spontaneous, right? Like, let's go 4 days during the week with my parents to this clinic, to this 5-star hotel, right? Let's check our bodies. Let's have a good time together. Of course, my brother and me, we worked there all the time. They were a bit not so amused when we couldn't attend the dinner, sometimes the breakfast, because we had meetings all the time. But at the end of the day, this is freedom, and this is what I like, right? And also with you, I mean, before we started to record here, you told me you're going to Dubai soon. Then now you come to Vienna. Then we go to south of France together. Then you go to South Africa, right? I mean, people dream about that, right?
Yeah. I remind clients of this so often when they're starting out. Just had this conversation with a client yesterday who's getting pushback from his parents, right? And I literally told him your story this morning. And he's like, yeah, it's just tough right now. I'm like, well, it's not meant to be easy all the time, right? That's how you overcome things and become a person that's capable of more, of outworking your self-doubt, showing yourself you can do it, right? And
Yeah,
at the end of the day, he's very young and he's just in his first month as a client, right? And just did 1.4K in his very first month on the side of working his 9 to 5. And he's like, yeah, it's slow and I want to achieve more. And I'm like, that's amazing. But are you
yeah,
aware you're living someone else's dream already?
yeah,
You're making money online. You're getting to know these high-level entrepreneurs. Like reset your perspective. It's amazing to always thrive for more, but enjoy the process. Be thankful of what you have to be able to receive more, right? Because if you're thankful for the smallest things that you're able to walk, go to the gym, talk to people, make money, and whatnot, you have a very positive energy, right? And if you're in that frequency all the time, you just attract more positive things into your life.
yeah.
That's a real thing.
100%, 100%.
Another question was with the success that you've had, right? And certainly many people looking up to you and what you're doing. What is advice that you would give people who might be just thinking about starting their journey?
Mhm. Um, I think that the most important thing is to just be open for something new, right? Because if you have this like mindset of like doing traditional stuff or doing something that, I don't know, everyone is doing, my parents like, my neighbors like, my friends like, or whatsoever. But if you want to live a different life or an extraordinary life, it's not possible, right? And it's super interesting, right? Interesting story. When I flew back from Mallorca to Vienna here, right? There was a guy sitting next to me, and he saw I had a very expensive watch on my wrist, right? And he was saying like, "Nice watch, this and that," right? And then he was asking me, "What do I do?" Right? And then I told him what I do, and then he said like, "Oh, but you need to be careful nowadays. There's a lot of scam out there, this and that," right? And he was sitting there next to me, like with a belly like this, like 50 kilos too much on it, right? Working a 9 to 5, asking what he's doing. He told me like, yeah, I do this and that, and I just flew to Mallorca because like this is my only week. I can fly somewhere, right? Like I was thinking like, what a loser actually, right? And like you see basically people, they have a like they have so many opinions about something where they don't even know anything about it,
Yeah.
right? And you need to be open to basically do different stuff, right? Because if you stick to the old stuff, like what will change? Nothing,
Gotta get
right?
those exact.
Impossible, right? So this is the number one advice I could give, to just be open and just trust you, get a mentor, get good in sales, get good education, trust the process, do what other people are doing, don't reinvent anything new, just double down on what works, and then just be disciplined and work on it, right? It's not too difficult.
Yeah. Do what other people are doing that are where you want to be. That's very important. If you keep doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the same results as everyone else, right? It's
Yeah,
always been this way in life. Risk takers end up making it more often than people who don't take any risk, right? And that person that you just described on the plane with you, I mean, he failed at whatever it is and let fear win. And from now on, he's going to tell everybody about, oh, this didn't work for me. It's not going to work for you too, because they have limiting beliefs. They think, oh, if I didn't make it, it's impossible for everyone else, right?
yeah, 100% limiting beliefs. This is the thing.
That's
Yeah.
that. You've also mentioned that when you were away with your parents in the hotels, you're like taking calls at breakfast time, taking call at dinner. Did you have to take these calls, or is that just your ambition?
I don't have to, right? I mean, I could, and I mean, this is also the crazy thing, right? Like we have now the 27th of August, and the first 7 days of August, it was the first week in 1.5 years where I didn't work at all, right? Usually I always work also Saturday, Sunday. It's normal for me to take calls, right? but this was the first week to take off. But I'm still now, I just checked the numbers at 23,000 this month, right? And we are still 4 days into it. So probably will end around like probably 27, 26, 27, 28K, whatever. But it just depends on you, like what you want, how much money you want to make, how much are you willing to put in, right? If you're fine with just making 5K a month, it's also fine, right? I mean, it's everyone, it's up to everyone themselves, right?
Yeah. So the people listening, if you want to make 30K plus a month, here's the blueprint, right? Stay consistent, stay relentless, and push for more.
But I'm also, you know, just because I think it's also interesting, I talked with my brother about today in the morning. Like, I don't think, I mean, of course, we work and we don't work less or we don't, it's not that we don't work at all, but I would also say that we don't work like so much, right? I mean, at the moment, it's maybe like 4 hours a day, maybe 5 hours a day, right? Out of 5 calls, I close usually 3, right? Depends on the size of the packages. It's so easy to make 1K a day, right? With just like 2, 3, 4 hours day work a day. It's just about the right vehicle you're in. The vehicle you're in matters more than how much you work.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's, like you said, a realization for many people who do become digital middlemen, like, whoa, this is crazy. Like for me, that realization was making like twice my monthly salary in 40 minutes and then driving to my 9 to 5. Like, what? Got multiple of these examples of just again and again, like hitting milestones that opened my eyes to what's actually going on. And then again, like resetting myself, being thankful for what's going on and everything. Like with all the free time that you could have, right? But you decide to just make more money. What do you
Yeah.
do with free time? Like, what do you spend the money on? What's like for you now?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like it's also some, but I just like to work, right? For me, you know, I get bored when I need to go somewhere for a week, I don't know, in a hotel or whatever, and do nothing, right? I just rather stay at home or anywhere and work, right? Because I just like to work. I like to make money. It feels good for me, right? This is what actually gives me joy, right? I don't I don't get joy out of being lazy and doing nothing, right? I like the process. I like to become better, making more money, right? Um, and what do I do with the money? Um, yeah, we buy cool things, right? We just rent here an apartment, 2 million euros, right? We bought new cars. We have multiple watches. We go on nice dinners, nice holidays. We go to south of France in what is it, 1.5, 2 weeks together.
Yeah, that's gonna
Um,
be amazing. South France, Cannes.
we we sometimes party pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
So a bit of everything, I would say.
Yeah, it sounds like you're living the dream, both of you are really, and really looking forward to seeing you guys again in South France, in Monaco, and we're gonna have a great time, no doubt.
Yes.
You've given great advice today to many people who might be wanting to starting out, right? So essentially, where can people maybe follow your journey and just connect with you if they want to?
I'm at the moment not too too open on, so but I mean just Max Moser, just my name on social media, right? I'm not posting too much, but if anyone is interested just on Instagram, I would say hit me up there. It's fine there. Yes.
Amazing. And lastly, knowing your mindset, I mean, I think it's become very clear of like the way that you approach things. What's the next milestone you want to hit? Something that we might revisit in near future.
Yeah. I think the next milestone is because I see now at the moment I work like for around 4 hours a day, I would say, right? But but I would say if I work like 8 to 10 hours, I think it's for sure possible to even hit 50K a month, maybe even 60K a month, right? So these are my next goals in terms of income and money. Yeah.
So we've already discussed off recording how to take you there. So let's go.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to talk to you and for you to share your journey. And
Likewise. Thank you also.
guys watching, if you want to achieve similar results to Max, you heard it, got to put in the work, right? Essentially, click the link down below and find out more about how you can get there. And I'll see you the next time.
Yes. Thank you.